Forward! The often told untold story of Captain Underpants. Hi everybody! As you can see, we've been experimenting some technical difficulties.
This comic book should get you up to date on our story so far.
Go!
Once upon a time, there was two cool kids named George and Harold.
We're hip to the giant.
Me too! But they had a mean old principal named Mr. Krupp, who was mean.
I'm all mad and stuff.
So George and Harold hypnotized him with a 3D hypno ring. You will obey our every command!
Okay.
Then they accidentally made him think he was a superhero. You are Captain Underpants!
Okay. Look at me. I'm Captain Underpants.
But he escaped and ran off to fight crime.
Tra-la-la.
Rats! George and Harold ran after him. Hey! Come back here!
No way.
Then, one day, he drank some superpower juice. Now he has superpowers and stuff.
Look at me. I got superpowers and stuff.
Aw, man!
If you think that's bad, it gets worse.
Pay attention because this part is important. The worst part is that whenever Mr. Krupp hears somebody snap their fingers, he turns into Captain Underpants.
Tra-la-la.
And whenever somebody splashes water on Captain Underpants' face, he turns back into mean old Mr. Krupp.
Blah blah blah.
In their last adventure, George and Harold got two new pets. A bionic hamster named Sulu. Cool! And a pterodactyl named Crackers. Awesome! Everything was cool until this brainiac named Melvin showed up.
I'm telling.
Melvin made a time machine out of a purple potty. It looks like this. Anyway, George and Harold wanted to use the time machine, but Melvin had one rule.
Don't use a time machine 2 days in a row.
Okay.
If you use it 2 days in a row, something very bad will happen.
Okay.
I mean it. Don't use it 2 days in a row.
Okay.
Seriously, don't use it 2 days in a row.
Okay.
Then,
Hey, let's use this thing 2 days in a row.
okay. And so, George, Harold, Crackers, and Sulu used the time machine 2 days in a row. And something very bad happened. What will happen next? Treehouse Comics Inc. Chapter 1. George and Harold. This is George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the skeleton on the right with the tie and the flat top. Harold's the one on the left with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now? Remember that now? As you might remember from our last adventure, George and Harold had recently made a horrible mistake of trying to pass through the synthetic time warp without letting the C-2906 Super Blim Fleet Manatchic drive on their Beetle Flux Capacitating Zazdifier cooldown, thus creating a sub-paradoxical dimensicalistic after non-zig shift, which opened up a hyper-googlyphonic screen door into the sub-omni-vinting ultra-zintecular bionanzano flana marzimpan. To put it in scientific terms, and my 1 million takes, they screwed up. But don't get all freaked out because everybody looks like a skeleton. X-ray beams are a normal byproduct of interdimensional reality shifting. Don't worry, it'll probably clean up by the time you turn the page. See? What did I tell you? George, Harold, and their loyal pet suddenly found themselves wishing that they had never set foot inside the petrifying purple potty that was about to send them all on a journey into the horrifying abyss of the unknown. A journey that would probably spell impending doom of themselves, that would most likely bring about the end of our civilization as we all know it. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 2. Wacky Grow.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute, something too bad! I, Lord Hair, Planetary Conqueror and #1 superstar, have taken your airwaves to give you the privilege of witnessing my most impressive and evil deed on both live. To who was the role that I'm the Prince of the Galaxy? I will destroy my most hated enemy, Blunder! Wow. Are we on TV? Hello! Folks, call me Wonder, and this is my pal, One Hater. We're not pals. I've been trying the story for like a year and a half. Is this live? Yes, the whole entire universe is watching live as I finally destroy the whole entire universe?
We gotta shout out to all of our pals!
What up, pals?
Hey, Sylvia!
Yeah!
Hi,
Forget it!
Leslie!
Hi there, Leslie!
Cut!
Big up to you,
Over!
Forbes!
Hi there!
Erase! Stupid camera thing!
Hi, Galaxy!
Principal's office because you said the word poopy in American history. Wait. Did I just get interrupted? Chapter 2. Those wacky grown-ups. It's been said that adults spend the first 2 years of their children's lives trying to make them walk and talk, and the next 16 years trying to get them to sit down and shut up. It's the same way with potty training. Most adults spend the first few years of a child's life cheerfully discussing pee and poopies and how important it is to learn to put your pee-pee and poo-poo in the potty like big people do. But once children had mastered the art of potty training, they had immediately forbidden to ever talk about poop, pee, toilet, or other bathroom-related subjects again. Such things are suddenly considered rude and vulgar and are no longer rewarded with praise and cookies and juice boxes. One day, you're a superstar because you pooped in the toilet like a big boy, and the next day, you'll be sitting in the principal's office because you said the word poopy in American history class. Which, if you ask me, is the perfect place to say that word. You're probably wondering,
why would adults do that? Why would they encourage something one day and discourage it the next?
the only answer I can think of is that adults are totally bonkers and should probably be avoided at all times. Perhaps you'll be lucky and find a small handful of grown-ups who you can trust. But I'm sure we can all agree that you really had to keep an eye on most adults most of the time, which is just what George and Harold did. Chapter 3. The School of Hard Knocks. Unfortunately, the adults at George and Harold's school were everything but trustworthy. Take their principal, Mr. Krupp, for example. Mr. Krupp's wicked heart thrive on the teardrops of children. His very soul danced at the thought of crushing a child's spirit and dashing his or her hopes and dreams against the giant rocks of never-ending despair. Each day, Mr. Krupp would stand on the doorway of his office, gleefully handing out detention slips to any children who was unfortunate enough to cross his putrid path. And for every minor inflections too, such as smiling, breathing without permission, or smelling funny. As bad as Mr. Krupp was, most of the teachers in George and Harold's school were even worse. Fortunately for George and Harold, their evil educators were not very intelligent. They could be outsmarted easily, and they often were. Now, you might think that it wasn't very sporting of George and Harold to try and outsmart dumb people, and perhaps you'll be right, but George and Harold were just trying to make the best of a bad situation. But unfortunately for George and Harold, their bad situation was about to get much, much worse. Chapter 4. Not again!
Remember, no talking this time. Oops! Did I interrupt your show? Good! Our Lord Hater, Planetary Conqueror and #1 superstar, I'm taking your airwaves to give you the privilege of my listening most impressive and evil deed unfold live. To prove once and for all that I am the greatest in the galaxy, I will destroy my most hated enemy, Wander! Will you ignore it? Just ignore it. For too long, Wander has thwarted my biological deeds and... Stop smiling, it is meant to be destroyed! Make a scared face! No, that's all wrong! You look like you just won the watery. It's like this! No, dumb, wrong. What? That's not even... gross! Look, if you can't do this, I gotta shut this whole thing down! That's perfect! No!
Wait, it's still on? Oh, thank God. Chapter 4. Pottyville. After several intense minutes of orange flashing lights, X-ray beams, and lightning-infused electric whirlwinds, the purple potty finally stopped shaking and sputtering and came to a sudden halt. Thick yellow smoke poured out of his glowing hot tailpipes as the grinding gears of coffee motor shifted into power down mode. George and Harold had no idea what to expect. They were supposed to be perched high up in the prehistoric tree 65 million years ago in the Cretaceous period of the Mesozoic era. But as they stepped out of the plastic door of the purple potty, the boys were disheartened to find themselves in the middle of the school library, right where they had started. "What are we doing here?" asked Harold.
I don't know.
Said George.
Something must have gone wrong.
Harold carefully tucked crackers back into his book bag, and the two boys looked around the brightly lit library.
Well, hello, boys.
Said the school librarian.
This is Banned Books Week. Would you like to expand your minds today?
No thanks.
Said George. "Hey," said Harold. "Did you get fired in our last book?"
I don't think so.
Said the librarian. Said George.
I'm not feeling very good about this.
Duh, not feeling good?
Asked Melvin Sneevy, who had been struggling to comprehend the easy-to-read children's bestseller Frankie Booger vs. the Bionic Fog Bunnies from Diarrhea Land.
Maybe you should go see the school nurse.
We have a school nurse?
Asked George. "I thought we just had a box of Band-Aids and Rusty Saw," said Harold.
Duh, of course we had a school nurse.
Said Melvin.
He offered a 1 night 2 hour 5-star gourmet cafeteria.
George and Harold looked confused.
Thanks.
Said George.
But we'll be okay.
Chapter 5. Strangers in Paradise Lost. As George and Harold walked down the hallway of their school, they noticed that something seems wrong. Very wrong. But they couldn't figure out what it was. Miss Anthro, the unbelievably crabby school secretary, passed by the boys and smiled kindly. "Why, hello, George and Harold," she said. "It's so good to see you two. Have a wonderful day." George and Harold looked at her suspiciously. What just happened?" asked Harold.
I don't know.
Said George.
But something strange sure is going on.
George and Harold opened their locker and carefully put crackers and Sulu inside.
Shh. We're asleep.
Said George. "Good," said Harold. "They can take a nap while we get to class." On their way to their homeroom, George and Harold stopped to switch the letters around on the lunch menu sign. But just as they were finishing, their principal, Mr. Krupp, caught them red-handed.
Hey, Bubs!
He said.
What are you kids doing out here?
George stammered.
You see, we were,
Please eat my plump, juicy boogers?
Said Mr. Krupp, giggling with glee, or should I say, laughing with glee.
That's gotta be the funniest thing I've seen all day! You boys really cracked me up! You're hilarious!
Then, with a spring in his step, Mr. Krupp pranced away, whistling a merry tune. What just happened?" asked Harold.
Shh.
Whispered George.
Look.
George pointed at two kids who were coming towards them reading a homemade comic book. The kid on the left had a t-shirt and a flat top. The one on the right had a tie and a bad haircut. Feel free to remember that now if you wish.
It's us.
Whispered George. "How can they be us?" whispered Harold. "I thought we were us." George and Harold hid behind a trash can as their two lookalikes walked towards them. They stopped in front of a lunch menu sign and frowned. Then, a devilish look came over their faces as they quickly began rearranging the letters. The strange boys snickered wickedly as they sneaked away from their prank. What just happened?" asked Harold.
I think I figured it out.
Said George. Chapter 6.
Oh, were you watching something? When are you watching me? I, Lord Hater, Planetary Conqueror and #1 superstar, have taken your airwaves to give you the privilege of witnessing my most impressive and evil deed on both live. To prove once and for all that I'm greatest enough.
What are you doing?
Nothing. What are you doing?
You're not still wasting time to destroy Wander, are you?
Me? No, of course not.
Hi, Sea Peeps!
Sir, we talked about this. We need to get more planets or underbillies are gonna pay half to the badge.
You're totally right, peepers. But I already told everyone in the universe that I was to destroy Wander. Now, if it wasn't you, then I was going to awaken under and stupid!
A little late for that now, isn't it? What's that, Loud? No, I didn't get a chance to get the item box. Wait, it's still on? Chapter 6. The World According to George,
I think the purple potty brought us to some kind of strange backwards universe,
said George. No way, said Harold. That kind of thing only happens in poorly written children's stories whose authors have clearly begun running out of ideas.
Here, I'll prove it,
said George. The two friends walked to the cafeteria and took a whiff. That's weird, said Harold. It doesn't smell like dirty diapers, greasy dishwater, and moldy tissues in here anymore. It smells like food,
Yep,
said George. Next, the boys went to the gymnasium. That's weird, said Harold. Our gym teacher isn't fat anymore, and he's not being incredibly cruel to the non-athletic kids like he usually is,
yep,
said George. Finally, George and Harold stepped outside. That's weird, said Harold. All of the most evilest and most terrifying enemies from our past have been miraculously transformed into good guys,
yep.
said George. Chapter 7. Getting out of town. George and Harold ran back to their locker,
Let's get crackers and Sulu and get out of this crazy place.
said George. Good idea, said Harold. But when they opened the locker door, their two friends were missing.
Where the heck are crackers and Sulu?
Cried George. I don't know, said Harold. Nobody has a combination to our locker. Nobody else except...
Twins!
gasped George. Harold tried to shut their locker, but the door jammed on something.
What's that?
Asked George. Looks like a comic book, said Harold. He held it up and read the front cover out loud. At that moment, George and Harold began to get a dreadful sense of the horror they were up against. Chapter 8. The Preposterous Plight of Captain Underpants. What? Once upon a time they lived two little children named George and Harold? I'm bad.
I'm bad as well.
They had a very nice principal who went by the name of Mr. Krupp.
Hello, boys. Have a pleasant day.
Whatever. One day, George and Harold hypnotized Mr. Krupp.
You will obey us.
Yes, master.
They made him think he was an evil villain.
You are now Captain Underpants.
All right.
George and Harold made Captain Underpants do all sorts of evil things.
Still is a video game system.
Okay.
And Captain Underpants obeyed. Still, it's a big screen television.
Okay.
I'm so happy. I could cry.
Me too.
Uh-oh.
Soon, George and Harold had the world's coolest treehouse.
Do you boys need anything else?
Yeah, how about pizza? And so...
What is right there, Captain Underpants? You've stolen TVs, jacuzzis, pop machines, massage chairs, and disco balls. But this time, you have gone too far. You're under arrest for Grand Theft Pizza.
You gotta catch me first.
And the chase was on. Soon Captain Underpants was chased onto the freeway when suddenly...
Oh no! Hey, look out.
The strange mixture of chocolate peanut butter and extra cheese combined to create a super powerful mechanical reaction, which gave Captain Underpants amazing superpowers?
I feel super. La la cha.
Then...
Here's the pizza, boys.
Hey, where's the pineapple?
Wow! Just think of all the evil things we can do now with Captain Underpants as our evil, superpowered slave. We'll be able to get away with anything.
Soon, the entire world will be ours! Epilogue. Oh, by the way, whenever Captain Underpants uses somebody's up our fingers, he turns back into Mr. Krupp.
Have a slow day.
And whenever Mr. Krupp gets one on his head, he turns back into Captain Underpants.
Grrr.
Remember that now. Evil Treehouse Comics LLC. Chapter 9. Not without my hamster and my pterodactyl. I think our evil twins made this comic book, said Harold.
They must have.
Said George.
The artwork is very bad, and I'm pretty sure they misspelled some words.
Let's get out of here, said Harold.
Now without crackers and Sulu,
said George. George and Harold ran to the window and looked out. There, they saw their two evil twins sneaking home, carrying their beloved pets with them.
Sulu and crackers have no idea what's going on,
said George.
They think those two guys are us.
How in the world are we going to stop us? Asked Harold. Chapter 10. Again?
Sorry to interrupt whatever whim show you're watching. Not! But I love hair. Planetary Conqueror and #1 superstar. I'm taking your airwaves to give... Is that singing? To give you the provision I was in prison. Who said the worker forgot to and evil deeds lie to prove. Stop singing!
But I'm singing your theme song.
You're making it sound stupid!
Well, why don't you show us how it's done?
No, wait. Let me start over. No. Who was the... Okay, I got it.
You gotta find middle C. It's like this. Do, re, mi, fa.
Well, thank goodness it's still on. Chapter 10. HYPNO-HORROR. George and Harold knew exactly where those evil twins had taken Crackers and Sulu. To the same place they would have taken them. Their treehouse. So our two heroes dashed home as fast as they could, then climbed up the treehouse ladder as quietly as they could. But when they peeked inside, they saw something that was 389 times worse than they ever could have imagined. The evil twins were hypnotizing their beloved pets with a 3D hypno ring.
You will obey our every command,
said evil Harold. Yeah, said evil George. And you'll be really wicked from now on too. George and Harold gasped. Which is actually not a very smart thing to do if you're trying to go unnoticed.
Hey, look!
Shouted evil Harold.
Jaspers!
Get 'em! Shouted evil George to their newly hypnotized pets. Crackers didn't move. The dazzled pterodactyl shook his head and looked a little confused. But Sulu immediately sprung into action. He lunged at George and Harold, grabbed them by their shirts, and yanked them to the ground. Hey! Shouted evil George. Those kids look just like us! What should we do with them?
We can't take any chances,
said evil Harold. Then he called for Sulu in a loud and commanding voice.
Destroy them, oh wicked hamster!
Chapter 11. Crackers to the rescue. Crackers did not understand what was going on, but the plucky pterodactyl knew that something needed to be done, and quickly. So, with a sudden whoosh of flapping wings, Crackers swooshed in and grabbed George and Harold from the relentless little paws of the raging robotic red-and rival. Oh no! Screamed Harold. Crackers is gonna fly us into the air and drop us! We're doomed!
Actually, I think he's trying to rescue us,
said George. But he got hypnotized just like Sulu, said Harold. Why on earth would he do the opposite of what he was ordered to?
And how come all our pronouns are getting Italianized?
Sorry, I got scampered. Alright, let's go.
And how come all of our pronouns are getting Nuttilized?
Asked George. Let's not worry about that now, said Harold. We gotta get out of here.
We can't leave Sulu behind,
cried George. Don't worry, said Harold. We'll come back for Sulu. So the three friends flew into the school and headed upstairs to the library.
Hey, that looks like a pterodactyl,
said Mr. Krupp as our three heroes pushed past him.
Let me pet him,
Mr. Krupp cried, chasing after them. George, Harold, and Crackers finally reached the library just in time to see Sulu and their evil twins smash through the ceiling with a terrible crash.
You jerks won't get away with us this time,
said evil Harold. Desperately, George, Harold, and Crackers tumbled into the purple potty, slammed the door shut, and quickly reset the controls. Mr. Krupp and Sulu pounced on the door of the purple potty while George and Harold's evil twins shook the malfunctioning time machine from side to side. All at once, an orange light started flashing wildly. The purple potty began to shake and wobble violently. Then the entire room lit up as the explosion burst of lightning as the purple potty and everyone around it disappeared into a whirlwind of electric air. Chapter 12. You know this joke is getting old.
What hair's in the little skeleton's room? But he should be back to just join me on live TV any second now. Yep, should be real soon. You know, he has been there for a while. I should probably go check on him.
Wait, what's water?
She's so cute. Wait, it's still on? Chapter 12. KA-BLAMSKI. Suddenly there was another blinding flash of light. Everyone around the purple potty flew up in different directions. Then the purple potty stopped shaking and wobbling and switching to shutdown mode. George, Harold, and Crackers peeked out. "Look," said Harold, "there aren't any books in this library. We must be back in our own reality."
"We've gotta be sure,"
said George. The two boys tucked Crackers into Harold's book bag and crept down the hallway. As they pierced into the windows of nearby classrooms, they saw room after room of heartbroken and disappointed-looking children. Some were standing in corners weeping. Others were sitting in 2 stools wearing humiliating hats, while still others were writing unbelievably degrading sentences over and over on the chalkboard as their teachers refilled through their lunchboxes, stealing all their best desserts.
"Yep,"
sighed George.
"we're back in our own reality."
"I never thought I'd say this," said Harold, "but it's good to be home,"
"To the treehouse,"
cried George. Chapter 13. Purple Potty People
Unite!
Seconds after George, Harold, and Crackers left the library, 4 confused beings from an alternate universe began to stir. Evil George, Evil Harold, Evil Sulu, and nice Mr. Krupp stumbled to the center of a strange, empty library, rubbing their heads and looking around curiously. "Look," said Evil George, "this library has no books on the shelves," said Evil Harold.
"It looks like we've entered some kind of alternate universe. In a logical reality where everything is backwards."
"Backwards, said Evil George. "We could do well in a place like this." He walked over to the drinking fountain and splashed some water on nice Mr. Krupp's face. Suddenly, nice Mr. Krupp's confused smile turned to an evil frown. He ripped off his clothes and tied a current from a nearby window around his neck. Then, Evil George handed him a bad toupee, and the pernicious principal stood before them, snarling angrily through his flared nostrils.
"I am Captain Underpants!"
he shouted with a thunderous voice. Chapter 14.
Your attention is now mine, but I, Lord Hater,
Planetary Conqueror and #1
yeah, superstar, have taken over your planet. Airwaves. Line!
have taken over areas to give you no joining the most hated enemy. Me!
Oh, okay, let me do it now. I, Lord Hater, Planetary Conqueror, and should it be Universal Conqueror instead of Planetary? Which sounds better or more awesome for a Conqueror?
Well, not being a conqueror myself, I'm not sure what I'd rather have conquered, but conquering is not really my thing.
Conquered. Great. Now conquered sounds weird.
Conquered. You're right, it does. Conquered.
Don't say conquered! What was I? Oh yeah. I, Lord Hater, Planetary. Line!
Conqueror.
Okay, good so far. What? I should have won that! Wait, it's still on? Chapter 14. The chapter where some stuff happens. Meanwhile, back at their treehouse, George and Hal grabbed some supplies before heading off to save Sulu.
"We need a 3D HYPNO-HORROR,"
said George.
"Change Sulu back to his old self again."
"Cool," said Harold. "But we better take the rest of this extra strength superpower juice just in case,"
"Good idea,"
said George. The two friends stuffed their supplies and their pet pterodactyl into their book bags and headed down the treehouse ladder.
Just what the heck do you two think you're going?
Asked the commanding voice at the bottom of the ladder. It was George's dad, and he didn't seem very happy. Said George.
We need to go back to school or something.
Yeah, said Harold. We forgot something.
Well, I'll have to wait until tomorrow,
said George's dad.
We're having dinner with the Hutchins tonight, remember?
Oh yeah,
said George.
It's Grandparents' Day. I almost forgot.
Well, you're just in time for dinner,
said George's dad.
Go inside and wash up.
But the fate of the entire planet is in our hands, cried Harold.
The fate of the entire world can wait until tomorrow,
said George's dad. Chapter 15. Super Supper. After they washed their hands, the two boys went to the dining room. George's parents had prepared a big meal, and everybody waited patiently for George and Harold to join them. Harold's mom, sister, and grandpa were there, along with George's mom, dad, and his great-grandma.
Hello, babies,
said George's great-grandma.
What have you boys been up to today? Nothing,
said George as he hugged his great-grandma. We made you and Grandpa a comic book yesterday, said Harold.
You did?
Said Harold's grandpa.
Well, let's have a look.
George stuffed through his book bag, taking things out and laying them on the table.
It's so smart,
he said. Finally, he pulled out 2 copies of their latest comic book, The Adventures of Boxer Boy and Great Granny GIRDLE.
It's about how you guys turn into superheroes and save the world stuff,
said George. I drew the pictures, said Harold.
Well, that's very nice, boys,
said George's dad.
Now sit down and let's eat.
You can't,
said George.
You gotta go now. It's really important.
George and Harold's grandparents poured themselves a glass of juice and began reading their new comic books, while the boys continued arguing with George's dad. Chapter 16. The Adventures of Boxer Boy and Great Granny GIRDLE. Everybody knows that grandparents are kind of dorky. They tell dumb jokes.
Why did the silly Willy throw his crock in the air?
He wanted to see time fly.
Huh? They call you embarrassing nicknames in public.
Hello, babies.
And they have no sense of what things cost.
Here's a nickel. Why don't you buy a video game with it?
Thanks. I will. But grandparents are still cool for one reason.
We're old.
And we don't care what anyone thinks.
Out of my way, Buster Brown.
Besides, you bother me.
Our heroes! And so, everything was cool until one day when a strange new store opened up downtown. They were selling robots.
Hey kids, trading your old worn-out grandparents for the latest in robo-geezer technology. Cool! They're tons better than regular grandparents. They tell funny jokes. Watch 40 feet long and smells like pee.
Line dances at an old folks' home.
They call you cool nicknames in public. Hey, Thor!
Yo, what up, dog?
And best of all, they have no sense of what things cost. Here's $10,000 for a candy bar.
So every kid in town was training their old grandparents.
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing.
Where are you taking us?
Nowhere.
For a brand new Royal Grannies and Grandpatrons 2000s.
Wow. Cool. I love my new rebel geezers.
Soon there was only 2 grandparents left in town.
You wouldn't trade the same, would you?
No way!
You better not or you'll get a whipping.
Anyway, one day, George and Harold's grandparents went downtown.
Something fishy is going on in there.
So they snuck inside the building. Soon,
hey look!
They opened the door and saw a dramatic discovery.
Hey! All the grandparents of town got turned into slaves.
Oh my!
We've got to save those old folks.
How?
Beats me. Hey look! A whole box of hard candies.
Ooh.
Let's forget the slaves for now and just eat candy.
What slaves?
Meanwhile, in the next room,
in a few more days, those old slaves will be under our control.
Cool!
Then I'll give them superpowers.
How will you do that?
Easy. I got a whole box of super-powered hard candies in the other room.
Oh, people love hard candies.
I know.
Later,
those candies were good. I feel so strong.
Me too. I feel powerful.
Oh no! Those guys ate all my superpower hard candy.
Oh.
George and Hal's grandparents joined hands.
Geezer powers activate!
And they spinned around and around. Soon they were transformed.
I'm Boxer Boy.
I'm Great Granny GIRDLE.
I'm out of here. I'm with you.
The bad guys ran upstairs. They got into a UFO on top of their building and took off.
Congo Robo-Geezers, attack Boxer Boy and Great Getty Girdle.
Suddenly all the Robo-Geezers in town transformed, and off they flew. The Robo-Geezers attacked, but Boxer Boy and Great Granny Girdle were faster than a speedy electric scooter, more powerful than adult diapers, and able to leap tall buildings without breaking a hip. But
There's too many of them.
I have an idea. Let them chase you for a while.
so the robots all chased Great Granny Girdle, and Boxer Boy attacked the spaceship.
Hey! Whoa! 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 Whoa!
Then he got some paint and added the finishing touch.
Hey, Robo-Dorks! Look! Yummy! Hey! What?
The Robo-Geezers tried to devour the spaceship in a wild feeding frenzy. They ate and ate and ate and ate. Then one of them bit the fuel line and...
We're free! Hooray for Boxer Boy! And free chance for Great Granny Girdle!
The end. Treehouse Comics Inc. Chapter 17. Meanwhile, back at the treehouse, while George and Hal pleaded with George's dad to be excused for dinner, a pack of evil thoughts was just outside their window, sneaky bombing their treehouse.
We've got to create some kind of diversion while we unleash our sinful scheme.
Said Evil Harold. The villagers looked around the treehouse for anything they could use. What's this little thing? Asked Evil George. He pressed the button on the back of the Miniature Cruiser Girl 4000. Suddenly, a beam of energy shot out of the tiny contraption, accidentally slapping Evil Sulu, who was just tucked inside Evil Harold's shirt pocket. Immediately, Evil Sulu began to grow bigger and bigger until he leaped out of Evil Harold's pocket and fell to the floor with a giant thud. Evil Sulu was now the size of a full-grown sheepdog. The villains all smiled. All at once, they watched as Evil Sulu growl and snarl ferociously. I think we found our diversion, said Evil George as he zapped Evil Sulu again. Chapter 18. I swear to God, if this happens one more time, I'm gonna...
Oops! Am I interrupting something? Don't care! I'm Lord-Hated Planetary Conqueror and #1 superstar. I've taken over your areas to give you the privilege of witnessing my most impressive and indeed unfold life to prove once and for all that I'm the greatest in the galaxy! Ever restore my most hated enemy! Wonder! I did it! I made it all the way for speech! Nailed it!
Woe is me! I must perish at the hands of one-hater!
That's right! Now, Wonder, you shall die! I swear this never happens to me. No, I swear I can do this.
Want to take a break and try again later?
Someone's in my eyes. You move! This stupid thing's broken! Yeah! Okay, steady. Stay and go!
Junli, how much I love ya. Wait, it's still on? Chapter 18. Crash! Suddenly, Evil Sulu grew into the size of a giant monster. He jumped out of the treehouse and landed in George's backyard with a terrible, thunderous crash.
What was that?
Cried George's dad. Everybody jumped up and dashed outside to get a better look at the horrible creature that towered over their house, snarling and roaring hideously. For some strange reason, George and Harold's grandparents jumped up and dashed the fastest. Faster than they had moved in years. But nobody really noticed because of the giant hamster thing. What's going on? Cried Harold.
Those evil must have followed. Those evil must have. Well, Seth, you really need to think twice before writing my lines into the paper.
No!
Those evil guys must have fallen us back to our own reality somehow.
Whispered George.
We gotta stop them before they take over our world.
Sulu crashed and smashed his way through the neighborhood, heading towards the big city. Because, well, that's where giant monsters usually head. George ran inside and grabbed the 3D HYPNO ring and the superpower juice, which felt surprisingly empty, and a whistle for crackers. And while the grown-ups were fussing and fretting over trial things like broken fences, insurance policies, and property damage reports, George, Harold, and Crackers flew up to save the world. Chapter 19. When hamsters attack.com. Soon, the three friends soared over the center of the city. There, they met up with their beloved pet, Sulu, who was now a giant, evil monster, destroying everything in its path. Well, said Harold, it looks like you and I are going to drink that super power juice so we can stop giant evil Sulu from wrecking the city.
Harold?
Said George as he eyed the carton of super power juice suspiciously. I'm so psyched, said Harold. I also wanted to have superpowers.
Harold?
Said George again as he held the carton to his ear and shook it back and forth. I hope I get Kung Fu grip and X-ray vision, said Harold. That would be awesome!
Harold!
Shouted George as he turned the super power juice carton upside down.
There's nothing left.
What do you mean? Cried Harold. There was, like, a third of the carton there 20 minutes ago.
Oh, it's gone now,
said George.
Must have evaporated or something.
The boys watched helplessly as giant evil Sulu continued trashing the city.
Well,
said George.
I guess there's just one thing left to do.
Hurriedly, the three friends flew to the house of their principal, Mr. Krupp. It was easy to find since it was the only house at Carmer Dion bowling bar that was covered in toilet paper.
Next time, we gotta use single-ply toilet paper,
said George.
We get better coverage.
After a quick knock on the door and an even quicker snap at their fingers, Mr. Krupp transformed into the amazing Captain Underpants. And in no time at all, the world's greatest, boldest superhero was face to face with the world's biggest, baddest bionic hamster. Chapter 12. Oh?
I don't hate a Planetary go. Wait, did your camera just freeze?
I don't know. But if you let me down,
I was watching you wander, right? Oh, my dumb thing! It's doing it!
Have you tried chicken wing?
I tried jiggling and it's not! Oh, it's working, it's working!
Let me take a look.
Okay, I should... Wait! Get back in your rack! This is all yours!
600 offered. The ColecoVision came with 16 kills.
Okay, that's good. Wait, still on, Chapter 20. The Extremely Graphic Violence Chapter, Part 1. Introducing Back in the olden days, incredibly graphic violence was believed to be harmful, dangerous, and even immortal.
And now it's fun for the whole family. These are the signs of
hamster havoc.
Bro!
Put your head on my boulder. Chapter 21. The Anticlimactic Chapter. The battle between man and beast was over. George and Harold patted Sulu's giant face and breathed a sigh of relief.
He'll be okay,
said George.
You just got knocked out.
Great, said Harold. Looks like all of our problems are over. Not so fast, said a voice came from somewhere on the lower right-hand corner on the next page. It was Evil George, along with Evil Harold and the ultra-evil Captain Blunderpants. The terrible trio had been busy working on their Preposterous Plight, which is just a fancy way of saying they were busy robbing a bank.
Somebody's been messing with our giant attack hamster,
said Evil Harold.
I think we need to teach those goody-goodies a lesson.
And I'm just the guy to do it,
said Captain Blunderpants proudly. Instantly the mood shifted. Everyone stood back. The air crackled with tension. The showdown of the century was about to begin. Captain Underpants will soon engage in a historic battle with his evil twin. Never before our brave hero encountered an enemy who was so powerful. Pound for pound, superpower for superpower. Captain Underpants was pitted against his equal. He had met his match. It was to be the ultimate smackdown. In all that war, the brawl to end all brawls, the definitive crash between good and evil, the montacious confirmation of the most critical. George snapped his fingers, and suddenly the horrifyingly evil Captain Blunderpants transformed into a friendly elementary school principal. Oh man, said Evil George and Evil Harold. Remake, you're coming back in Chapter 8, said Harold. Didn't you think we wouldn't remember how to transform your evil supervillain back to a harmless principal, huh? Oh, you two are just retarded. George and Harold quickly found some rope and tied Evil George, Evil Harold, and nice Mr. Krupp.
We're taking you losers back to our own reality where you won't bother us ever again,
said George. All we have to do is dehypnotize and shrink Sulu, and our job will be done, said Harold. Nothing can possibly go wrong now.
No, you really shouldn't say things like that,
said George. Why? said Harold. Chapter 22. Kaboom! Suddenly, lightning flashed, thunder crashed, and the rain came tumbling down.
That's why,
said George. As the first few drops of rain hit Captain Underpants' pudgy face, he began to transform. In a matter of seconds, he changed from a confident, powerful superhero into an angry, annoyed elementary school principal. Unlike Wisely, the rain on the face thing was having the opposite effect on Mr. Krupp, transforming once again into an arrogant, full-tempered supervillain named Captain Blunderpants. Evil George and Hero Harold smiled their evilest smiles as Captain Blunderpants snapped out the ropes and yelled out a triumphant
La La Cha!
George and Harold quickly snapped their fingers again and again, but it was having no effect. It was raining too hard and Mr. Krupp was getting annoyed.
This is the dumbest dream I've ever had,
he shouted.
I'm gonna go home and get back into bed.
And with that, he turned and stomped up towards his soggy, toilet paper covered house.
the tables have turned.
Evil Harold snickered.
You guys haven't won yet,
said George. Quickly, George and Harold leaped onto Cracker's back, and the three forlorn friends flew up towards their treehouse.
Now just stand there,
cried Evil Harold to his creepy cohorts.
Let's get him!
Chapter 23. 2 minutes later, back in Yosh's backyard, our heroes searched furiously to their treehouse.
I found it,
said George.
Shrinky Pig 2000. All you have to do is shrink those evil losers and we'll save the world.
Too late,
shouted Captain Blunderpants as he grabbed George and Harold by their shirt collars.
I'll take that shrinky thingy,
said Evil Harold as the contraption slipped out of George's arms.
I'm not sure how it works, but once I figure it out, I can think about 1,000,000 evil things to do with it.
Captain Blunderpants held George and Harold high into the air and snarled victoriously.
Prepare to be pulverized!
He shouted. We're doomed! Screamed Harold.
No, wait just a cotton-picking minute, young fella!
Shouted a familiar-sounding voice from inside George's house. Chapter 24. Nobody messes with our grandbabies. Harold's grandpa and George's great-grandma stepped outside into the parking patio and confronted the big bully Captain Blunderpants.
You put those babies down, you'll get the whooping of your lifetime,
said George's great-grandma. Captain Blunderpants laughed heartily.
We're not going to warn you again, stupid,
said Harold's grandpa. Captain Blunderpants continued to tighten his grip on George and Harold. So the two octogenarians joined hands, gazed fiercely into each other's eyes, and shouted,
Keys of powers activate!
Quickly they began spinning around and around. Faster and faster the old wheels twirl until a tornado formed around them, tearing away their clothes, jewelry, and sending patio furniture flying violently. Suddenly the twirling stopped, the tornado subsided, and the elder twosome stood proudly in their underwear, huffing, puffing, and furiously facing their foe.
Ooh, that was fun! Let's do it again, Henry,
said George's great-grandma. Who is calling this time? Please stop! Sorry, I had a phone call with my dad. Okay, let's continue.
Ooh, that was fun! Let's do it again, Henry,
said George's great-grandma. Laughed Harold's grandpa.
Alright, my dear, but we've got to teach that fat boy a lesson first.
Oh yeah,
said George's great-grandma.
that young fella's got a hankering for a spanking.
Okay, what kind of face Captain Blunderpants pull in this scene? This has to be the next template meme, I'm sure of it. Harold's grandpa grabbed a couple of curtains from the kitchen window and tied them around their necks.
Not too tight, Henry,
said George's great-grandma. With their capes in place, George and Harold's super grandparents approached Captain Blunderpants triumphantly.
Alright, sonny,
said George's grandpa.
Prepare to get your bucket whooped by Boxer Boy and Great Gonna Girdle.
Chapter 25, the Graphic Balance Chapter Part 2, in the Geriatric Jawbreaker. pain in the brain. Take a walker on the wild side. Chapter 26. Shrinky Dorks.
No,
said George.
I just figured out what happened to the superpower just disappeared earlier.
Oh yeah, said evil George. But you didn't figure this out. All we have to do is press one button on the Shrinky machine and you'll be transformed into tiny little shrimps. Go ahead and press the button, laughed Harold. You're holding it backwards anyway. You'll just shrink yourselves.
Really?
Said evil Harold.
Gee, thanks.
He turned the Shrinky Pig 2000 around and pressed the button. Zap! And they were shrunk to the size of potato chips. Hey! Shouted medieval George. What happened? Oops, said Harold. I guess I made a mistake. You actually were holding it right the first time. My bad.
No,
said George.
I think I know two little boys who could really use a good spanking.
Chapter 27. The Extremely Graphic Violence Chapter Part 3. In Well, folks, you know what to do.
And you know how to do it.
Happy Spanksgiving! Chapter 28. Wrapping things up.
Well, it looks like a job here is done,
said Boxer Boy.
Yes, it is, my big, strong man,
said Great Granny Girdle, giggling gleefully. George and Harold looked at each other in horror.
You know, little lady,
said Boxer Boy.
Somewhere out there is an all-you-can-eat buffet with a single sentence of it, but special, just going to waste.
Well, let's go find it, you big hunk of love,
said Great Granny Girdle as she kissed him passionately on his wobbly neck fat. The scene that followed could best be described as the droopliest 5-minute kiss in the history of children's books. Dentures sloshed, wrinkles flapped, and rubbly jewels squished, smooshed, and quivered relentlessly. Said Harold. I think I need to go wash my eyeballs.
Me too,
said George. As the arthritic adventurers flew up into the sunset, George and Harold decided to try very, very hard not to think about the disgusting event they had just witnessed.
Come on, we gotta wrap our story up,
said George.
First, we need to hypnotize and shrink Sulu.
Then we gotta go back into that crazy purple potty and return those bozos to their alternate universe, said Harold. Chapter 29. To make a long story short, zap! Chapter 30. To make a longer story even shorter, kick. We'll be back! Chapter 31. The chapter where nothing bad happens. Gee, that worked out pretty good, said Harold. Sulu's now back to his normal size and personality, and the purple pie people are back to their own reality. Well, they won't be able to bother us ever again. I guess everything worked out perfectly.
Yeah, nice going,
said George, looking a bit annoyed.
Why do you have to say things like that?
Things like what? Asked Harold.
Haven't you been paying attention in these stories?
Asked George.
Every time somebody says something like that, it always means that a bunch of bad stuff is going to happen.
But what could possibly go wrong now? Asked Harold.
Freeze!
Shouted the chief of police.
You guys are under arrest for robbing Frank's bank. Looks like you're going to jail for the rest of your lives.
See what I mean?
Said George.
You gotta stop saying stuff like that.
I guess you're right, said Harold. But at least things can't get any worse.
Ah!
Shouted George.
You did it again! Now I bet when you turn the page, something even worse is gonna happen! You've gotta learn to keep your mouth shut at the end of these books!
Yeah, but what could be worse than going to jail for the rest of our lives? Chapter 32. The thing that could be worse than going to jail for the rest of their lives. Suddenly out of nowhere, a ball of blue lightning appeared, growing bigger and bigger until it exploded in a blinding flash. And there, standing where the ball of lightning has been, was a smoking pair of giant robotic pants.
This can't be good,
said George. A small opening at the front of the row of pants began to unzip, and out of that opening peeked a fearsomely familiar face. Hey! It's the funny guy!
Huh? What's that again? Is that the funny guy, right? It is the funny guy! Dude, that's right there, the funny guy! It's the funny guy! Except for you being so funny! Take the
Hey! It's Professor Poopy Pants! Shouted Harold. The cops started laughing.
Stop laughing!
Shouted the little man peeking out of the giant zipper.
My name is no longer Professor Poopy Pants! I changed it to Tippy Tinkle Trousers!
The cops laughed even harder.
And now I've got a special surprise for anybody who thinks my new name is funny,
said the furious professor. Immediately the metallic pants opened up at the top and a giant laser shooter rose from its robotic depths. A brilliant burst of energy stopped at the laughing cops, and suddenly they were both transformed into frozen statues.
My Freezy Beam 4000 will take care of anybody who stands in my way,
said Tippy.
And now,
he said with a wicked smile,
it's time for my revenge! Oh no!
Screamed George. Here we go again! Screamed Harold.
1, 2, 3, 4, 007. All the good guys go to heaven. 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, hey, all the rest can go away.
Hey! I think it's working again!
Really?
No.